What's up, guys? Dave with Miracle Canine Training. Just want to make a quick video. We've been asked a lot of questions lately in regards to introducing your dog to new people in the house, getting your dog comfortable with people they may be uncomfortable with, whether you're having fear aggression issues, growling, things like that. And I wanted to break down a simple 3-step process that I use for all of my clients, as well as my personal dogs when I'm introducing them to new people in the house, right? So the 3-step process consists of this. So it consists of getting your dog to a place of neutrality first, getting your dog to a place where they're able to explore in a neutral fashion, and then moving into actual interaction once they're comfortable. So let's start with the first one. So neutrality. So what does that typically look like? So a lot of times when we're working with dogs that have fear issues of strangers, the reason why their behavior is amplified is because we're putting them in a position where they're needing to decide who's okay, who's not okay, what's not okay. So what do? We immediately take charge of the situation and we set boundaries from both sides so both parties can get acclimated to each other. So what I do personally is when guests come over my house, I put my dogs into a bed stay and I make sure I communicate with my guests to leave my dog alone. Now, both of those is very important. I know a lot of people will say things like, you know, when people come over, I can't get them to not pet my dog or this or that. And if you're of that mindset, there's absolutely nothing that you're gonna be able to do to get your dog past this point, because your dog needs to start to see you as a leader that's gonna be able to control the environment around them, right? So if for whatever reason you got people come over your house that you feel like you can't control, well, one, you need to find better friends probably, and two, you need to make sure you put your dog away so you're not putting them in that vulnerable position. So dog in bed stay, we're communicating to them, don't worry about this person. People come in ignoring the dog, you're telling them don't worry about this dog. From there, what we do is we work that process until we see our dog hit a point where they're totally neutral. They're relaxed on it. The person is able to walk freely around the house without the dog getting very concerned about them. And that process may take a day, it may take an hour, it may take 2 months. I don't know, but you have to make sure that you get to that point consistently with that person. And every time you have a new person come over, you're also going to work through that process with them, right? Whether you've done it with 50 people before or just one person before. From there, we move to just the hanging out process. So I'm still going to communicate the boundary to my guests to ignore the dog, but I want the dog to start to explore a little bit more freely now that I've had them acclimated to this new person. So once they've hit that point of total calmness around the guests, I'm going to release them. I'm going to have them be able to walk freely around the house. And same deal. I'm going to, one, hold my dog to a firm standard as far as if they show any sort of intimidating behaviors or jump or do anything like that, I'm going to give a firm correction for it, still setting a boundary even though we're no longer having them in command, and I'm going to have the people ignore them, right? This is going to let my dog now start to check them out, sniff them, explore them without the additional pressure of then the person being like, ooh, puppy, and jumping down in their face and scaring them or startling them and putting them in a vulnerable position. If for whatever reason I have a dog that I'm concerned about a bite risk for, I would use a muzzle for this process. Again, I'm going to do that step until I've checked the box that my dog is freely walking around the house and is essentially totally comfortable with that person and is actually looking for interaction in a non-timid way at that point. Once we see that, we move to the final step, step number 3, which is actual interaction. I instruct my guests that when my dog actually looks like they are looking for attention, you could begin to share that in a calm fashion. That doesn't mean stick your face in their face. That doesn't mean bear hug them and restrain them. It means simply share calm, non-intimate affection with the dog and start to develop that bond and that relationship with them. Again, the process, there's no exact time as far as how long it's going to take. You have to make sure you're working through the steps sequentially and making sure that you check the box that step number 1 is good. Step number 2 is good, step number 3 is good. And again, you're going to follow all 3 of those steps anytime you introduce your dog to a new person. And if you do that and you're very clear about it and very strict about it, you should never run into an issue where you put your dog or your guest in a vulnerable position. If you guys have any questions on that, obviously let us know in the comments, but hope this helps.